Good morning, everyone. Okay, as you settle in, I'd just like to really thank you for joining today on this amazing journey of a whole day of exploring the idea of thriving and getting out of that survival mindset. And I'd really like to thank the Wellbeing360 team for continuing to put on these events, because it's such an important part of these modern times, you know, with COVID, and as we navigate our way through those times, it's really important that we have a forum where we can share ideas and best practice. And I'm really happy to be part of that. And I really like to thank the 360 team for inviting me again to give a talk, because it's a topic that I'm really that's close to my heart, because I've been in the industry now for 17 years. And in that time, I've traveled to over 60 countries, learning all I can about the wellness industry, whether that's strength and conditioning, nutrition, massage, physical rehabilitation, psychology, spirituality, as well as energy healing and energy medicine. And it's a really important time for us to holistically look at healing and transformation. And definitely it's an important time to understand the idea that we can actually thrive in any environment, as opposed to just keeping that whole idea that the idea is to survive and survive. So I'd like to actually start with a story, a client example, and then I'm going to build on that to share with you some of the ways I think the wellness industry could really transform. So all the individual expressions that we've got in this industry could really become that much more effective when we just have a slight change of perspective and mindset, and when our foundation really starts to change. So it's the story that is the client story of my 61-year-old client in America. And he came to me at a time when he had 30 years of arthritic pain in his back that gave him daily pain. And he also had a 10-year autoimmune disease that gave him excruciating pain every day of his life. And when he came to me, the medical fraternity had actually said, in the coming months, you're going to need a walking aid, because he was declining so quickly. Now, I'm used to helping people with impossible situations. So when he came to me, I didn't entertain what other people had said was possible. And in a month of us working together virtually, he was mountain biking with his other older adrenaline junkie brothers. And he couldn't believe when he told me that he enjoyed, for the first time in so many years, being able to carry his daughter, his granddaughter, while trekking on his back. Now, the thing is, I actually don't always share these stories in a public forum, because I know how much they can sound unbelievable based on what we've been told is possible in today's world. But actually, I realized more so recently than ever before that these stories, they need to be heard more. They need to be more widely available, because that's how the wellness industry is going to transform, when we realize actually so much more is possible once we stop accepting those limitations of what we do think is possible. So maybe you're wondering, how did I help him? Well, I am actually going to explore some of that in this short talk today. But ultimately, what I helped him understand was he's a self-healing organism. Now, on some level, we understand that. But when our body goes into an extreme state of illness, we kind of lose that wisdom. We forget that actually we're always healing. We're never trying to attack ourselves. We're never degenerating. We're always healing and rejuvenating, but not in the way that we perceive that we should and shouldn't be. So after I got him into remembering that that's what he did, the next stage was to get him to really understand healing is designed to be effortless. And what I mean by that is we are designed to heal. Once we get better at knowing how to, it becomes easier and easier, like any skill. So I actually helped him realize that, one, you're a self-healing organism, and two, you are able to heal yourself. But there's some beliefs, there's some ideas that we've accepted that postpones that healing process. So if you do have a piece of paper with you, I want you to write something down. Of course, you don't need to, but maybe it will help the message sink in if you write it down. And the message is, we all crave honesty, not positivity. Now, what I mean by that is, I really do believe the era of being fake positive is coming to an end. Now, for many decades, for many hundreds of years, that idea, that stoic idea of plowing through life and surviving at whatever cost, and to be positive at whatever cost, we don't realize the implications of that. And the implications of that are that we have become dishonest at all costs. And if you want to see that in action, then just ask anyone how they're doing. What's the response that we always get? I'm good, I'm fine, everything's going well, can't complain. Now, that in itself is such a common response, even if we don't feel great, if we don't feel positive, we still feel like we have to share that sentiment. And it's been indoctrinated into us for so long, we don't realize that it's turned us into expert liars. And what I mean is more to ourselves than anyone else. We keep telling ourselves everything's going to be okay. Now, that makes logical sense on one level, but that's what the foundation of the wellness industry is based on. It's based on this idea that we've got to be positive and we've got to turn our negative thoughts, beliefs, and patterns into positive ones. But I'm just offering the idea that maybe that actually has made us terrified of thinking or doing anything that we perceive as negative. And maybe that keeps us in a constant state of fear and a constant state of not being genuine. So maybe that's one of the reasons we're losing connection with each other. Maybe that's why the world is arguably becoming more divisive and more angry and frustrated with each other, and why connection's becoming less and less. We can blame technology and the lockdowns for this, but ultimately, it doesn't matter if we're over a screen or not. We should still be able to have that connection. But what is preventing that is that level of dishonesty that we've grown up with, that we think is normal. So I want to offer something different. And that's how I do help my clients in impossible ways, because I help them to change their whole psychological foundation. So it's no longer based on surviving or fear or plowing through life or getting through life. It's based on a very different idea. And I'd actually like you to go through that with me for a moment. So wherever you are, can you just take a seat back and close your eyes? And I want you to just scan your body, because I'm going to ask you to ponder something in a minute. So if you could just scan your body, and if your attention goes to somewhere, you might have an obvious pain, you might have some tension somewhere. I don't want you to try and get rid of it. I want you to start communicating with it. Because still with your eyes closed, still in that place, what we've learned to do over the years is we've learned to see that our body and our minds are actually trying to hold us back, trying to sabotage us. But the absolute opposite is true. It's constantly trying to help us, our mind body, but we've just learned to look at it in a skewed way. So what I'm asking you to do right now is just connect with your body. If there is any tension anywhere, any pain, then just start that listening process where maybe for the first time ever, you're actually now going to engage with your mind and your body in a way of, okay, I'm listening. And maybe that's the first time ever you've said, I'm listening, in a way without front-ending it, with blaming it for doing something wrong, like it's holding you back. So actually, once you start asking, is there any message? Is there anything you want to tell me? Is there anything I can do for you? You engage and you start that two-way conversation. Not that you need an answer. Your mind body just wants to know that you're listening. So as you're in that state, as we're building that connection, I want you to ponder something. I want you to think about the idea that regardless of what religion you are, regardless of what creation myth that you follow, why would it be designed in a way to hold you back? Why would life be designed in that way? Well, I'm offering the idea that it's not. That actually life and everyone in it is actually doing all they can to relentlessly help us on our journey of self-discovery. And we might have heard that before, but we've really got to understand what we're saying here, which is potentially everything that we encounter, everyone that we encounter, is an opportunity for us to grow. And again, we kind of understand that, but we're not always owning it 100%. So that's why what happens is we start to create ever more extreme situations. So I just want you to take a moment to ask yourself, surely it's not designed to hold us back in any way, whether it's my mind, my body, people in my life, or the situation that's going on in the world. As an individual and as a species, we're being asked to change. Maybe it just needs a change of focus, a change of direction, to really appreciate that ancient wisdom. So when you're ready, just take a deep breath and come back. The reality is, our environment is getting more extreme. It's not getting more bad, but it is getting more extreme. And it's asking the dominant species to change. And if we don't, then it doesn't get more bad, it just gets more extreme. Well, that's going to be the same in any relationship we have, whether it's with our mind, our body, or with the people in our life. It's going to get more extreme until we finally stop, take a moment, sit back, and ponder the idea that someone is actually trying to help us and not hold us back. It can feel like quite an alien concept until we start the idea of even thinking that that's a possibility. So how did I really help my client, and how do I help other clients? I really help them understand that we've accepted the idea that life is about survival, and it's about mental toughness, and it's about mental resilience to be able to plow through our days and not to show our emotions. But in reality, maybe the idea is for us to gain access to that honesty that's been trying to come up for years and years. I helped my friend understand, who was my client. I helped him understand that the inflammation that he had in his body, that he was told was the reason for his illness, was actually down to his repressed anger. The clue's in the name: inflammation, inflame. The anger that he was trying to deal with and cope with for over 60 years, if you like, was just building up in his body. And his body was now doing what it's designed to do, which is to show you what you're coping with, what you're dealing with. And all the time we keep trying to cover up our symptoms, we don't realize that we're creating ever more extreme symptoms. So what's this got to do with the wellness industry? Well, before the pandemic, it was currently valued at a $4.2 trillion industry. And it's growing. And of course, more people than ever are going to be looking at the wellness industry for help as we go through these unprecedented times with COVID-19. With that great opportunity that we all have who are working within the industry comes incredible responsibility. So arguably, over the years, as the wellness industry has increased, our global happiness and health has decreased. So there's something that needs to change. I'm not saying it's just the responsibility of the wellness industry, but we are going to become a focal point to help people with that. So what I'm suggesting is that we start the process of entertaining the fact that actually we're not wired for survival. We're actually wired to learn about the very thing that we take everywhere with us, us. We're here not to survive, we're here to thrive in any situation that we find ourselves. We are here to learn from everyone that we encounter. And once we do that process, we're going to be amazed at how quickly we can heal and transform. And then the last thing I'm going to offer you today is that idea that one of the most challenging things I get told about my message is that healing is designed to be effortless. It's designed to be simple. That gets the most pushback, and especially from my client that I'm telling you about. For 30 years, all he knew was pain, mental and physical. So when I first said to him, oh, healing's designed to be effortless, he couldn't fathom that. He'd been told by every angle of the wellness industry that he'd been in for those 30 years, that he isn't going to heal, that it's going to be tough, and all he can do is hope to manage his symptoms. So when I told him all of that can be reversed with a change of mindset and looking at the world just differently, he didn't like it. He wanted to believe it, but he didn't like it. So that's my message to leave you with. The idea that can we even fathom the possibility that we are designed to heal? And just the last example I'll give you. What happens if you go to the airport and you miss your flight? In that moment, you're angry, you're frustrated. You might even have some physical symptoms that are really acute and painful. It might exacerbate an existing pain. But what happens half an hour later when you find out that the plane has been diverted to another airport or even crashed? In that moment, instantaneously, that hatred, that anger, that blame towards the taxi driver, yourself, the airline, disappears. And in that moment, love and gratitude fills every cell of your body. Suddenly you realize, for the first time, maybe life has got my back and it is never trying to hold me back. So the reality is instant change is possible, but it does take a fair amount of effort to get to that point. But are you prepared to even entertain that thought? Thank you very much for listening. And I really am excited for you to spend the day with these amazing people, exploring the idea that we could actually thrive. And of course, if there's any questions that you have for me, you can get my details and we can exchange so I can expand on some of the things that I've said today. So thank you very much.